Have you ever read the Qur'an and wondered why it tells us so many stories about nations of the past? You know, these powerful stories of people who were given a truth and they rejected it. Well, today, we're going to dive deep into that question. And what we're going to find is that these aren't just old history lessons. They're actually living, breathing mirrors that show us what's happening deep inside of ourselves, right here, right now.
And these beautiful insights we're exploring today have been carefully put together for us by Mir Ali Shah from the Living the Wisdom of the Quran podcast. So what we're doing here is really grounded in a deep tradition of seeking wisdom that truly transforms us.
I seek refuge in God from the rejected adversary. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Okay, with that protection and that blessing, let's begin.
So let's get right into that big question. If this book is meant to be our guide for life today, why does it spend so much time looking back? Well, the answer is just profound. These stories, they're like a kind of divine X-ray. They let us see the hidden patterns, the fractures, the tendencies, not just in the world around us, but deep within our own souls.
So let's start with the first layer, the most direct meaning. We're going to look at some key verses from Sūrah Sad and just see them as a straightforward historical warning. This is what the scholars would call the outer or the Ẓāhir understanding. Right here, the Quran lays out this powerful, almost poetic lineage of denial. We've got the people of Noah, the mighty civilization of Ad, the powerful Pharaoh, and the message is crystal clear. Their circumstances were different, their cultures were different, but their core problem, it was exactly the same. They all rejected the truth brought by the messengers, and because of that, a consequence had to follow. It was just inevitable.
And you know, the great classical commentators, they didn't just see a random list of names. No, they saw specific patterns or archetypes of how we human beings reject truth. Look at this breakdown. For the people of Nuh, it was all about ridicule and mockery. For Ad, it was this blinding pride in their own strength. For Pharaoh, it was all about political power and control. Each one shows us a different flavor, a different strategy of that same deep refusal to just listen.
And this right here, this quote from Imam al-Rāzī, it just hits the nail on the head. He's basically explaining that the message to the very first people hearing these verses, the Quraysh in Mecca, was incredibly direct. It was like God was saying, hey, you think your arrogance is new? You think your denial is special? It's not. You are walking down a very old, very well-trodden path. And trust me, you know exactly where it leads. So history here isn't just history. It's an urgent, flashing warning sign. All right, so we've looked at the outer story. Now we're going to make a pivot. We're moving from the historical, the Ẓāhir, to the inner, the Bātin. And this is where the Sufi approach to the Quran opens everything up. The story stops being about them back then, and it becomes about us right now. This is where the real journey begins.
And this shift in perspective is everything. The stories suddenly transform from being about these historical groups out there into becoming a map of our own inner world. These nations are no longer just people from the past. They are spiritual archetypes, different parts of our own self that are constantly resisting guidance every single day.
So let's meet these inner nations, shall we? First up, the inner people of Nuh. Think about this. Have you ever had that quiet little voice inside, that pang of conscience, telling you to do better, to change something? And what do? You immediately turn up the noise. You distract yourself, you get cynical, you even make fun of that little voice. That right there, that's your inner people of Nuh, drowning out guidance with ridicule. And then we have our inner Ad. Oh, this one is subtle. This is that part of our ego that's so proud of what we've built, our career, our intelligence, our fitness, our family. And it starts to whisper, I'm good, I'm strong, I've got this all figured out. I don't really need guidance. It's this dangerous illusion of being invulnerable that seals our ears from hearing a much deeper call. And then there's the big one, the inner Pharaoh. This is that part of ourself, our ego, our nafs, that needs, that demands to be in control of everything. It's the voice screaming, this is my life, my rules, my throne. It's our own little inner tyrant that refuses to give up its sovereignty, to surrender to something higher than itself. It will fight tooth and nail to stay in charge. Wow, the great Sufi master Sahl al-Tustari just captures this whole inner battle so perfectly. He says that every single one of us on a spiritual path has an inner prophet, an inner Nuh, whose gentle call we so often ignore. And at the same time, We have an inner tyrant, an inner Pharaoh, whose commands we follow without question. What an incredible and maybe uncomfortable mirror for our own inner life. Okay, but we're not done. We're going to go even one layer deeper now. Because the Qur'an uses a very specific, very potent phrase to describe the consequence that these nations face. And hidden inside this phrase is a kind of code, a secret, that connects ancient mysticism with, believe it or not, modern science. So the verse says they await a single cry, a sayha. See, the deniers were mocking the prophet, saying, hurry up with this punishment you keep talking about. And the Qur'an's response is so profound. It says, what you're really waiting for is this one event, this sayha. And after it comes, that's it. There are no more second chances, no more pauses, no more delays. So what on earth is this single cry? Well, mystically speaking, its secret is unlocked with a number, the number 5. You see, in the ancient system of abjad numerology, where every letter in Arabic has a number value, the letters for the word sayha add up to a root value of 5. And in this spiritual language of numbers, 5 represents a sudden break, a rupture, a breakthrough. It's that one single shattering moment when all the illusions just collapse and the truth becomes completely, totally unavoidable. It's not a slow, gentle decline. It's a sudden snap.
And this is where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Modern science is describing the exact same pattern. Neuroscience tells us how cognitive patterns can hold and hold and hold under stress until they suddenly break. Psychology talks about how years of denial or bad habits can collapse in one single life-altering turning point. Even Jungian psychology describes this sudden shock of finally confronting your own shadow. They're all describing consequence not as a slow burn, but as a sudden structural collapse, a single cry. So, after all this, the history, the psychology, the mysticism, what's the bottom line? What does this mean for you and me living our lives today? Let's bring all these incredible layers together into one simple, applied wisdom.
And this is the gentle whisper at the heart of it all. It's a call to that seeker inside every one of us. Please, don't be like the nations of the past. Don't wait for that single cry to happen inside you. Don't demand some dramatic sign to finally believe the quiet truth that your heart already knows. Because every time you delay, every time you ignore it, you're just reinforcing the very structure that will one day have to come crashing down. Ultimately, if you take away just one thing from our time together, let it be this. The warning itself is the mercy. Being shown these stories is a profound gift. The path of wisdom, the path of peace, is to choose to be among those who listen to the whisper, so they never, ever have to learn from the thunder.
And let's close with this beautiful, intimate prayer, this munajat, that comes from the source material. O Lord of subtle warnings, make my heart soft to your cautions and gentle to your signs. Save me from asking for clarity through pain. Let me awaken before the storm arrives. Ameen.